So today, April 25th, 2025 is EcoFlow's official release date for the Wave 3, which is their third generation heat pump, which allows you to have portable heating and cooling on the fly, whether you're camping, RVing, or just wanting to take it out in the garage to have a little bit of cooling. At the same time, they're also releasing their Glacier Classic, which is their cooler down here on bottom, which is capable of keeping your food either cold or frozen. And finally, as a bonus, I'm going to be going over the 10,000 milliamp hour battery pack here from EcoFlow, which has wireless charging and has a built-in USB-C plug. So the Wave 3 does not come with a battery. However, you can purchase the battery separate or with a package deal. The Wave 3 is the third generation from EcoFlow. The first one they came out with only had air conditioning only. The second one came out, had the heat pump ability, which gives you heating and cooling. And the third generation has even more features on top of that. So there were several different complaints about how to do the ducking on the previous models. So they've came up with a total of 3 adapters here. So this one here can go into the front, and you can actually attach it here on the front piece here like that, or you can do it to the back side. Depending on whether you want to mount this inside the tent or outside of a tent or whatever your living arrangements are going to be, you're able to attach it right to the back of the exhaust. On the top here, we've got the ability to do 2 different ones here. We got the larger one here, which goes up on the front. That's if you wanted to duck it in. It hooks right onto there, like that right there. Or you've got the one that goes on the back, which is the way I'm going to describe it. This one here hooks right onto the top. So depending on what you want to do with it, whether you want to duck it in or out of your living quarters that you're going to be using this for, you have options now that you didn't have before on the previous model. Now it does come with 2 flex ducts here. You've got a larger one and a smaller one, which is going to be your air intake and your exhaust. For this situation here, I'm going to put the unit inside the tent because I don't want it to get wet. The unit is not waterproof, so if you do mount it outside, you have to take into account that possibly somebody might steal it, or it could possibly get wet if it's raining. So the attachment points are right here on the front. You can see it has clips there and there. This allows you to attach it right to the device, rotate, and it locks into place. Then you'll be able to stretch out to where you want to go with it. The top section is exactly the same scenario. It's got some clips here, and you lock it into place. So whether we're running it in a heating mode or cooling mode, this is going to be the exhaust. The back side here, which could be your condenser if we're running in air conditioning mode, or it's going to be your evaporator for running in cooling mode. Just so you guys know, I am a heating, air conditioning, refrigeration technician, and that's generally what HVACR Survival is all about, which is the channel you're watching right now. I am a technician, and as far as I know, I'm the only technician that's going to be doing a review on these 2 different devices, which are purely about the refrigeration system. So I'm going to talk in some jargon that you may or may not know about, but I may bring up some valid points that some of the other reviewers may not. So the EcoFlow battery that I'm showing you right here is the newest one that they've came out with. This is a lithium iron phosphate battery, which is a big improvement over their lithium iron battery, because this gives you a total of 4,000 charge cycles. It gives you the ability to have a USB-C and a USB-A here on the front for charging your phones and other devices. Has a power readout here on the front, and then over here on the side we have a actual XT150 plug, which is going to be the same type of plug you have on your Delta 3 and your Delta 2 Max. And then off the side here we have a charging input. This here allows you to do your solar charging and do it straight from the wall outlet. Assembling this to the device is not a big deal at all. You set it on top of it, move it forward, and it locks into place just like that. We're going to go ahead and plug that right into the battery and the Wave 3. Both of them are good to go. Here is the ability to charge 120 volts into the unit, so that is another option for charging. With a tent here like this, we're going to have to duct this out. If you leave it inside here, you're just going to recirculate your cold air and your hot air. So whether we want to heat or cool the tent, either way, we want to get that exhaust going to the outside of the tent. It's as simple as unzipping and stretching it out. Now you're going to want these to separate away from each other so that you're able to not recirculate your air from one to the other. Now you can make this really fancy and you can get an actual foam piece. You could have some custom sewn in ports. So depending on how big of a camper you really are, you could have your tent adapted or your living quarters. So as simple as closing the tent up, you're able to duct that onto the outside. So I don't want the coil damage. I'm going to put this back on. On the back side here we have a mesh screen, which is basically a filter to keep your coil clean. You can see right here is the temperature sensor, which is going to read the room air coming into the unit. But like I said, we're going to keep that on there so that it is protecting that coil. On the front here, you can see that we have an adjustable damper, which allows you to shoot the air where you want. Now you could get another set of hoses and you could actually attach it, like I said, to the front here, which would allow you to duct it to wherever you wanted inside of the living quarters. So here on the front, you can see that we have a green LED, which tells us that the unit is in auto mode, which means it can automatically switch from heating to cooling and back again. You can set your heat to come on at 70 and your cooling to kick on at 77. That gives you your variance in between it, or you can run it in dedicated heat or cool mode. So we just switched it to cool mode. So this has two different fans on it. You have one fan section up here on the front, which we're going to call this our evaporator right now because we're running in the cooling mode. On the back side is going to be your condenser, which is typically what's going on the outside of your house on a split air conditioner in a normal home. That's the reason why we want to bring outside air into the living quarters, because we don't want to use the air that you've already cooled or heated, because then you're wasting it. So they have a pretty decent seal. I know some people's asked about that. I mean, there's a little bit of leakage, but it's very minuscule. Depending on whether you're running it in eco mode or whether you're running it max is going to determine the fan speed. So like right now, we're set at 60 degrees. So what we're going to do now is we're going to use a digital thermometer to measure our air coming in and our air going out of the unit. This is typically what we do to check the performance of a home air conditioner. So we're going to go ahead and get this plugged in, get it turned on. This is going to automatically calculate up the temperature drop or temperature rise. I'm going to take my blue thermistor here and clamp it right here on the front, which is going to be very similar to the space and location that it's sensing the room temperature. My one that's red here, we're going to put that up here in the air path. I'm going to kind of leave it a couple inches outside of it so it's a little bit more accurate. So up here on the front, you can see what we've got for a display. You've got a little cup here, which is your actual water level. This does have condensation when you're running it in cooling or heating mode because of the temperature difference of the coil versus the air. You have the option of putting discharge temperature or room temperature here on the bottom left. You can see both in the actual app. Then you have your set temperature here at 60 degrees. And off to the right here is your battery indicator, which tells us that we have about 4.7 hours of runtime based off of the load that it's running at right now. That doesn't take into account that when it stops or continues to run, if it was running nonstop, that's about the time that you're going to get out of it. Now this is rated for about 8 hours of runtime, but I'm going to find that to probably not be real accurate, and it's going to change based off of the outdoor temperatures that you're running at. Now we're checking the temperature coming out of the unit. Right now we're running at 45.8 degrees, and on our other probe we're at 64.8. So the difference between the two of them right there is about 18.9 degrees. Now if we are to speed up the fan or slow down the fan, we can make that go up or down. So depending on whether we're running in heat mode or cooling mode, you can speed up and slow down your fan and make the temperature change. So that's the reason why I'm not real big into this notion that we can in 15 minutes change room temperature by 15 degrees. Depending on the room design, whether it's insulated and stuff like that, all those things are going to change. For example, this tent here has a mesh with a rain covering on the outside. Wind could actually be blowing into the tent, so it really depends on the type of enclosure that you're using this in. So because I've been using my phone all day, I only have 5% battery life. Now is a good time to go ahead and check out the power bank here from EcoFlow. Like I said, we can do wireless charging with this, which it already picked up. We're going to go ahead and say right now, let's go ahead and start the timer. We got it on wireless charging, which is going to be the slowest. I really need it to go a little bit faster because I need more power. I'm currently using my phone as a monitor. So let's go ahead and plug in the actual USB-C down here on bottom. By plugging in the USB-C plug down on bottom, I'm able to get 30 watts of charging, which is going to make it charge a whole lot quicker. It also hangs onto the back pretty good because, I mean, even though it's a big old battery, the magnet is pretty strong. So while that's charging, let's go ahead and get back to the Wave 3. So like I said originally, we got one probe right here in the discharge. We have one down here sensing the room temperature. The differential between the two is 18.4 degrees. Currently, we have 45 degree air coming out and we have 64.2 degrees going in. Now, if we switch that to heat mode, it's going to have about the same effect. This is rated at 6,100 BTUs in cooling mode and 6,800 BTUs in heating mode. This does have a condensation pump built into it, and it keeps track of that level. I believe they're using the hot gas from the discharge line to boil off any condensation that would fill in this. In the air conditioning mode, heating mode, it will condensate and then it'll have to be pumped out, which comes down to the next thing that they give you, which is why they give you this hose here. It's kind of a really nice elasticy type material with a little rubber here. That's going to plug right into the back of the unit. So right here in the back, if I was to pull that out, probably get, I'm going to get water all over the place. But you pull that plug out and you can shove that right into the back. Then you're able to pump it right outside of the living quarters. It can do that automatically or you can do it manually. If the unit gets too full on condensation, it will shut down. So you've got that as a protection device. So as I was stating earlier, this does have a few different features that the Wave 2 did not have, such as we have the ability to do air conditioning, which is a snowflake. Click it again, you got a sunshine there, which is your heat symbol. If you go over to the next one, it's just fan only. And the next one is actually dehumidification. And then finally you have at the very end over here, auto, which would be the mode where it automatically switches back and forth. Like I said, it does have a 7-degree differential. You can make that adjustment through the keypad here or in the app, which EcoFlow has probably one of the best apps on the market. You can actually watch this. If this is at home on your Wi-Fi network, you can literally check it from work or anywhere you have internet. So we'll put it in heat mode there. We'll go ahead and turn this temperature up to 86, which is our max temperature. This right here on the front, like I said, that can be set to either discharge or room temperature air. I currently have that set to discharge air. You can see that little dot right there. That means it's in waiting mode. You don't want to short cycle the compressor. The temperature range is adjustable. As you can see here, we can go all the way down to 60 degrees in heat mode, or we can go all the way up to 86. As you can see here, we are already at 2.9 hours. So we have the ability to go to maximum cool or heat, sleep mode. The eco mode here is your most efficient for getting the most battery life. As you can see right here, it's already switched to 4.4 hours from the other. When we take it up to max, it's going to change that number down here. And you'll notice over here to the side, we do have Wi-Fi on this, and it's already starting to kick on the heat. That is a orange color light, so that does tell us we're in heat mode. With the heat pump, generally it's slow to come up and down in temperature because it's just got to get that refrigerant going. As you notice, we are on maximum heat mode right now. We're going to go ahead and check our dB meter to see how loud it is. So at about 3 foot, we're right at about 56 dB. And as far as our temperature rise, we are already at 29.4 degree rise, which is really good for a heat pump. We're coming out at 101, 102 degree air. Our tent is already up to 72 degrees, which is rising pretty quickly. So that's pretty impressive. Yeah, we're already at about 31 degrees. It's still rising. As the unit continues to run, it slowly builds up. While we're waiting for the Wave 3 to reach maximum temperature, we'll go ahead and point out here's the 120 volt plug, which is a ground fault indicator plug, which will protect you from being shocked unintentionally. That plugs directly into the Wave 3, which then will charge the battery down below. Already, we're seeing a 39 degree temperature rise, which is crazy for a heat pump. Now, if we were in the dead of winter or it's 45 degrees out, obviously that number is going to come down. Currently, we're kicking out 114 degree air with 75 degree air coming in. As you can see, we've already jumped 1.5 degrees in this tent. This tent is a 10 foot by 13 foot tent. The area that we're in right now is about 60 degrees. So that is really nice air coming out of it, which is going to heat this thing up really fast. Now, if you'll notice, the battery life has already dropped down to 1.6 hours. So it does not take long to drain it down. From all sources that I've noticed so far, the battery is rated for as little as 2 hours to as much as 8 hours. So you're going to want to have a power station handy or a wall outlet to be able to power this. That way you have uninterrupted heating or cooling, depending on what you need. However, looking down here at the battery, it looks like we're still showing pretty full. And with those numbers there, you got to remember that it's going to shut off and then it's going to extend that time that it's rated at. Well, I don't know about you guys, but it's 78 degrees in here and I'm ready to get out. Let's go ahead and take this to the desk. Currently, we're on the nighttime setting mode with the moon. We're going to go ahead and check the SPL meter now. The pitch has definitely changed, but the SPL meter I think is going to show about the same. Now my microphone is within a foot of it. It's going to sound a lot louder because of where it's placed at right now. This area here was ducked outside, which really reduced a lot of noise because, like I said, there's 2 different motors inside here running at 2 different separate speeds. This right now being the evaporator section, because it's in heat mode, is running at 1 speed, and then your fan up here on the front is running at another. Currently running in that nighttime mode, we're back to about 2 hours of run time. So it really changes. So once this thing shuts down or once it satisfies, your battery life starts to extend again. When it's in that eco mode, it's going to automatically vary the heat up and down. It's going to hold a little bit wider range on your temperature measurement. Earlier I said you could adjust it in the app, which you can make all of your adjustments in the app, which we can go over here towards the end. Now I'm going to throw a comparison up on the screen of the Wave 2 versus the Wave 3. That way you can see what some of the differences are. With the Wave 3, they've increased the BTU out capacity of both heating and cooling. This will give you a chance to see the weight, the dimensions. Now this does have multiple different ways of charging. You can use the plug adapter straight from the wall into the Wave at the top. You have the ability to bring it in with solar on the side, and you can also plug in a car adapter to a 12 volt outlet. And let it be known that you do not have to buy it with this battery, and it does not have to be powered by this battery. You can plug this straight into the wall outlet, or you can plug it in, like I said, to the XT150 here into, like, say, a Delta 3 or the Delta 2 Max or even the Delta 2. But any of them that have that plug, you'll be able to go straight from DC to DC, which is going to be your greatest efficiency. Now, a heat pump has a thing called a reversing valve, which allows the refrigerant to flow from one coil to the other. That's how it goes from heat to cool. When you do shut it off, you will hear a whoosh sound. So if you've never been around a heat pump, it'll be something new. I'll go ahead and give you an example of what that is by just turning it off. You should have been able to hear it go shh. So now that we've covered most everything on the Wave 3, let's go ahead and jump over here to the EcoFlow Glacier Classic, and I'll go ahead and show you some of the features it's got. All right, so one of the things they changed on the Glacier Classic here is they changed the fact that it does not have an ice maker on it. I kind of thought it was gimmicky. A lot of people like it. If you didn't need it, it's one thing that you don't have to mess with now. Starting here on the front, one of the things that's new about it is it's able to be hinged on the one side and then also hinged on the other side. Currently right now I've got it in freezer mode. The display shows that we're at -4. Jumping over to our thermometer here, which I just opened that up, which threw it off, but it was at about 4 degrees. So the thermometer does read a little bit different. It's measuring temperature in the wall of the unit. It is able to freeze water, and it should be able to keep your ice cream fairly cold enough that it should stay fairly hard. Ice cream is one of those things when I'm running grocery store calls, generally you want to be at -10 to -15 degrees. You can take this completely off, which like I said, it gives you the ability to hinge on either side. It does have a rubber O-ring here on the side here. This particular model here is the 39-liter model. They have a 45 and 55 liter available, which gives you independent temperature control, a freezer section and a cooler section. It has a removable piece in the middle that you're able to then put into the top of your lid, which is pretty convenient. So I believe all the models come with a tray that's removable. This does feature a plug in the bottom, which makes it easy to drain the cooler out. This has been running in freezer mode now for about 3 days, and we really don't have too bad of an accumulation on the sidewalls. This is about 2 inches thick of insulation on the sides. The evaporator coil is in the walls of this. This does not have a fan in there, so radiant cooling is a little slower than a fan. However, that's pretty typical. So the display does have an adjustable brightness that also allows it to be automatic. We have a power button right here. You have your settings, which this right here will tell you whether you're max or whether you're in eco mode. You have your up and down temperature, so you can take it down as low as -4. These can be a little heavy, especially when they're fully loaded, so luckily they put strong handles on there. You may need to use 2 people depending on your strength. Down at the bottom here we have XT60 plug, which will allow you to do your remote charging from the car or solar. We also have 4 spots here where you can bolt on a tray that hooks onto it, which is an optional accessory. Spinning over to the other side, we have the same thing, a handle over here. You've got your compressor section in here. This is an actual compressor, just like what you'd have in your refrigerator at home. It does run on R290, which is propane. Generally nowadays, with all the eco-friendly refrigerants, you either got butane, isobutane, or propane for most of your small fridges. It is a very, very small amount, less than what's really in a lighter generally. So nothing to worry there as far as that's concerned. Then on the side here, we have the condenser. No filters down here at all that I see. So that type of fin there really won't get dirty. When they do, they still seem to work really good. The battery we've been using today is right inside here. This is a lithium iron battery, so it doesn't have as many cycles as what the lithium iron phosphate would have. You can see we have 4 LED lights here to tell you the state of charge, and you have a USB-C down here at the bottom. That USB-C is capable of doing fast charging up to 20 volts. And as you'll notice, it is pretty much the same shape all the way around, and there's no special grooves. So you are able to put it in backwards. You can go in there, and if it doesn't go, chances are you've got it in wrong. You can see that they actually have a spot here in the back that has the contact points, and you look inside there, you can see them there. So it's as simple as putting it in there, locking it into place, and you're good to go. Now I will have discount codes down in the description down below. I ain't even gonna throw out prices because they're constantly changing right now and they're constantly giving away different things. So as far as 12-ounce cans of beverages, you're able to hold a total of 58 cans in the smallest one, 72 cans in the medium, and 90 cans in their largest. As far as weight's concerned, you got 43 pounds in this model. The medium one is coming in at 49 pounds, and the largest one comes in at 53 pounds. So currently you're at 98% battery life. I've been using this phone as my monitor for my camera, and it has not shut off the whole time we've been running it. We've gotten a total of 1 hour and 58 minutes so far of running it while charging, and currently our battery on the back here, if you tap the button on the side, it tells us that we're at 43% yet on this battery. On the right side here, you can see the charge rate is right about 3.9 watts. Then on the left-hand side here, it tells you what your input charging would be at. It does have a kickstand on the back, which is pretty cool. It helps you to hold your phone there, so if you're traveling, I've been pretty happy with it. It's got a lot of capacity. That built-in plug is really nice. You can still use a regular plug here on the side with the dedicated in and out on the C. That is also how you can charge it. You can also charge it off of the USB-C that's built right into it. So, like I said, that is pretty slick. I've been really happy with it, and It's simple as that. I've been testing out the cooler here for about 2 to 3 weeks. It's kept everything within 2 to 3 degrees on average. Depends on whether you're running eco mode or in max mode, how tight of a tolerance it holds. Same thing with the heat pump here. I think this thing is going to be really neat. So Ohio weather is pretty crappy in the middle of April, as they call it, April showers. I wasn't able to do a lot of testing outside, but from what I can see on the temperature rise and the temperature drop, it does a really excellent job. Also, one other thing that I may not have mentioned, these units do have Bluetooth, which is how you can initially set them up. So if you do not have Wi-Fi available, you are able to communicate directly with the Bluetooth. Their app is some of the best apps I've seen out there. Okay, now we're gonna go into the app here. We can click on the Glacier Classic. Now, if you take it out of simple mode, now that will allow you to go all the way up to 68 degrees. You got a storage guide, which is going to tell you what your normal temperatures are for food safety. You have child lock, which you're able to do that also on the front of the control panel. Charge and discharge limits. Believe it or not, you can actually go into the wireless charger and can make adjustments here and that. You can find my device, which is kind of cool. Battery health settings. So those are some really cool options underneath the wireless charger. And finally, here's the Wave. We're able to go in here, and this is where you can see in the middle, it's 91 degrees, which is, if you tap on it, the outlet temperature. And in the middle there, you can see it's the ambient temperature, and then your actual humidity level. You also see up the top there, that little yellow cup that tells you it does have about a half a container full of water. We're able to turn it on and off by hitting that power button right there. As you can see right there, popped up, it is running an air conditioner and water has accumulated. You do have shutdown timer at the bottom left corner, which you can tell it how long you want it to run before shutting down. Right now we're in heat. We can switch that, like I said, to auto mode. About a 7-degree differential, so 60 to 67. If you go the other direction, there's 79 to 86. If you go in the middle, it's about an 8-degree. Now, if we want to get out of that, we can go ahead and go into heat only, which then at that point, it's going to allow you just to pick exactly what the temperature is you want, and it's going to hold a tighter tolerance. And finally, on the cool section, you're able to go to the pet care on the bottom right corner. You turn that on, you're able to adjust your threshold from 77 to as high as 113 degrees so that your pet can be cool and comfortable, and hopefully somebody doesn't break your window out, which they do give you stickers so that you can put on your car that tells them that the dog or animal inside the vehicle has air conditioning, and to please not bust my window. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it. There's a lot more that we could have probably gone into, but people's attention spans are like goldfish. So we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up here. If you have any questions, please leave them down below in the comments section. I'll do my best to get you an answer. If you would, please consider subscribing, click the notification bell, and share this video with some of your friends that might be interested in it. Until next time, we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching.